Well, without further ado, you guys, I want to introduce Doug Peterson. He is one of the founders of Prestige, and we're super excited to have you. Not only that, but he is a father and a grandfather. Remind me how many grandkids you have, Doug.
Six grandchildren.
Six grandchildren and a dog named Rusty. Is that right?
Yep. Cute little guy.
I
Yep.
love it. Okay, well, good. Doug, I want to just kick things off getting to know you a little bit more and how you got started with Prestige, and you were one of the founders.
It was about a 40-year run to get to where we are now. We just kind of added one foot in front of the other. Today we contract, well, last year I think we did business in 60 countries around the world. Uh,
Wow.
my favorite thing is to get on the phone with new customers and prospects and brainstorm where in the world.
What can these incentive trips and working with company culture, how can that really boost a business and just really boost their culture and morale of their employees?
I read a lot now about the idea of building a culture of recognition and that companies are sort of built on that framework because there's such high value and there's demonstrated value. And I can even at the close of this, I could send you some materials or links that people could look at. There's bodies of research that have been done to demonstrate that, culture eats strategy for lunch is the old saying, and it's true.
Yeah.
It really does. People will go to the end, to the mat for a company they believe cares about them. It's that feeling cared for and recognized component. But what the data and research shows, it has to be genuine. There's people that go through the motions and like, here's this gift card or here's this thing, or we recognize the birthday, but if it's not from the heart, it doesn't have the same level of impact. And the research is showing that from the heart is key as you're recognizing people along the way. So, like, I'll give you an example. So IRF, the Incentive Research Foundation, is a body of people that work together. They have researchers within universities. They take different subjects on this topic, and they demonstrate through research like how people actually react. What's the human response to a reward and recognition that's say non-monetary versus say cash? And the proof is in that people respond much more powerfully to non-monetary recognition through group travel, through gifts, through personal recognition in different ways, in small, little, and big ways, and they're all valuable, in the process. So what they did is they take what they call top companies, which were defined as companies that had 95% customer satisfaction scores and 95% employee satisfaction scores. So their team culture was well cared for. Their customers were very happy. Here's the cool part. Within that set of top companies, they all had similar attitudes about reward and recognition. It was a top-down thing. And what we're seeing with this world is that it has to be top-down. If the leadership of a company do not believe in this and they're questioning every dime, then they shouldn't be doing it. It should come out of a heart that we want to recognize our team. And it's almost like to the point where you can't afford to not, because culture does eat strategy for lunch. And I mean, our company, we've grown from 1 to 150. And I can tell you right now, the culture that's here is what keeps people here. It's what draws clients here. And what makes vendors to want to even work more with us, that makes us more powerful in our negotiating ability, because those relationships are so well and intact, and they want us to win and they want our clients to win. That all happens through culture. And so the same is true with the employees, that you win their hearts and they feel like culturally part of who you are. Like you connect them to the big picture, you continually show them how their role's making a difference, and you find regular ways, even weekly ways, to recognize people in small ways. And then small ways like monthly, quarterly, to continue to affirm people in what they're doing. I think about, like, we get a lot of brands coming in to try to motivate our team because we're sellers at Prestige. Like, we're representing all these channels of possibilities for our clients. So Marriott's got they want some time, and Hyatt and Hilton and Four Seasons and all-inclusive brands, and they're all looking for ways to be differentiated. And so they'll do little spurt incentives, a quarterly Marriott Booker of the Month, or Booker and it's something simple like a fun little card, or they send a little reward gift, and then they recognize it amongst our team. And it's kind of like some internal like affirmation, like, hey, well done, Michelle, and then multiple brands are doing those things, and they're not expensive. Like We're talking 100, $200 gift cards. It's the fact that you were recognized, you got something of value, and it's saying thank you for being a producer. Thank you for bringing this business. And the other thing I think is so missing, it's so basic. Say thank you.
Yes.
Recognize people. I mean, in our organization, I sometimes go after some of the global salespeople who get all this business and they get copied on all the stuff that we do, say, within their brand. And let's say Sheila books a nice program for one of their hotels. They never even bother to send a note of thanks. Like,
Right.
thank you for that great program with Jessica. Um, just the simple things like that go a long way. Or the other thing is get some really quality stationery and get a nice pen and write personal notes to your team. Uh,
Yeah. I
tell you
think
how
that's
that
it.
makes
Like that's at the bottom line, we're all human. And as humans, we want to feel recognized and like we belong and we're a part of something. And so I think you hit the nail on the head that with some of our audience here, I'd actually love to see while I'm speaking, you guys, if you'll throw in the chat, let us know what you do. If you are a sales rep, if you are the owner of the company, if you're an operations guy, fill in the chats what you do. But at any level, and no matter your position in the company, everyone just wants to feel like they belonged and they're recognized for their hard work. And it can be as simple as, a big incentive trip or as simple as a thank you note or recognition, recognizing you in front of the company. So there's multiple ways to do that. But I think you nailed it on the head, Doug, with that.
well, and I sometimes use the phrase, Jessica, building community. And I feel like our job as a company is to build community amongst our clients, our vendor channels, and our team members because we're better together. And I think that's really what each organization is doing. So if you're out knocking doors, trying to win clients on behalf of whatever business you're doing, to make them feel part of this family, that we're in this together and then we got your back. I've always believed in that inverted pyramid idea that ownership, leadership, they're underneath the front line and we're providing tools, resources, and inspiration for the front line to be successful in the roles that they play. And then recognition is a huge part of keeping them engaged because as we all know, my son's door knocking right now for roofing companies. So I hear the stories, but he loves the no's because he knows he's one closer to a yes.
Yeah.
It takes some training to get to that point, but they also do these special dinners where they'll recognize a strong week and they'll take him out for a steak dinner and they make him feel part of something. And I just feel like there's so much value in that because to your point, we're just human beings that want to feel part of something. So build a culture people want to be part of. It's not
Right.
about you making money. It's about us together creating value for the marketplace to which we're going to extract value individually and collectively, but we're also bringing value into the market. And I always say one of the ways we create value is in each other by
Yeah.
lifting one another up, affirming one another. That's such an enriching way to live life. And I think we all, as business owners or whatever role you're playing within these channels, you can elevate the people around you.
Yeah, this whole life is about connection and how we can help those around us. And I love that so much. So, Doug, tell me, we're talking about steak dinners and maybe gift cards or thank you cards. Let's get into some of the big incentive trips because that's really big in the door-to-door space, and we facilitate that a lot at Repcard. I'd love to know what are some of the incentive trips, maybe A, what's your favorite incentive trip that you've done or been a part of? And B, what do you see really impacts the employees with loyalty as they attend these incentive trips?
Well, we personally, we run them at two levels, and I think it's important for companies to think about that. Because we have like some achievers that are like way up here, and then we got some achievers that are here, and then we got some people that are kind of getting there. And the classic incentive language, they talk about moving the middle. The incentive is to take that person that's down here and get them to that first gate where they feel fully recognized. So we do a 3-night domestic President's Club. And I think one of the ones that's memorable, and there's many that are, but like it was Charleston, South Carolina. We put together an amazing, experience around Charleston with a really cool lifestyle brand and with some classic historical, tours throughout the city, some really memorable dining experiences, some great room gifting, recognition, these Mini Coopers we could take out and drive around the city, which were all memorable. And then creating photo ops. And in this age of the young for people, it's like that Instagram moment
Yes.
Thinking about what's the Instagram moment in these places. But then it's the it's the promoting what they're going to experience, building anticipation through a pre-mailer and through some marketing that gets them excited about what they're about to experience, creating some customization while you're there, and creating more personalized gifting so people are feel recognized. So if you like, I know you like to drink Coca-Cola, right? So we might have you set up with like that nice glass bottle of Coke with the smaller ones, or the Mexican Coke. But you think about who's the customer and try to customize some of that as best you can, say for the turndowns. And we did some of that in Charleston, but I think it was the whole event experience. It was the final night, how we recognized people in a very personal way, from the heart, the toast that we did together. And then the collective sharing that we tried to invite from the group. So you could share about, talk about a situation that got you here this year, a major challenge you had to overcome. So as people shared their stories together, that was pretty rich. But then as I go all the way up to the chairman's level, we chartered not a charter, but we took a cruise, a 7-night cruise from Rome to Venice on a Windstar ship, and we did the Adriatic Sea with the island of Capri, with Dubrovnik, with Kotor,
Wow.
Split, adorable little romantic village called Roven in Croatia, and then finished in Venice, where we did a Vivaldi concert, with these 1600s instruments, and there's so many waves of that were just like breathtaking. Those kind of experiences, you're creating lifetime memories. Like
Yes.
the whole goal with that kind of trip is doing things that people couldn't do on their own, or
Yes.
very expensive to do on their own.
Yeah.
And
And as a group, it's doable.
it's doable, absolutely is. And I know, in your former role, you guys did some kind of crazy stuff. And it's fun when you have clients that want to kind of take the lid off the box and say, let's surprise people a little bit. You got to know your audience, though. Some people don't want adventure. They might want to be more of a chill group. So
And options are always a thing. That's amazing.
it's key. And I think that's one of the big points with any of these long trips is you have customizations available, and you can do as much or as little as you want, because
Yeah.
some people don't want to move a lot. Some people are just, where do I go every day? Uh,
Yeah.
and so you got to manage to all those expectations.
Greg, I want to touch on that. I love that you talked about just making it personal. That's really what drives loyalty is being personal with every single person that is in your company. And that's how we can personalize certain things on these incentive trips, whether it's a smaller trip or an incredible cruise, to Croatia, to Venice, and all of these incredible places. I think the most important thing is that we personalize that and make every person not just another number, but an actual human being, a person that's cared about and valued at the company. So I love that. Um,
And to that point, Jessica, I just want to add one quick thought. We added a thing called 5-star awards, and it
okay.
was taking the non-sales people within the company, because we have an advisory board of clients that talk to us and say, here's some things we think you should do. And they said, don't just recognize your salespeople, make it a culture of recognition. So
Yeah.
your people that are, working on keyboards, and they're doing behind the scenes work, and they're setting up things, and they're closing things, and find a way to recognize every level of your organization with something. So we do a 5-star award trip. We have 5 core values as a company. We take each core value and we have people nominated based on those core values. And each year we have a trip of those winners as well. Um,
Yes, I love that you say that. I think so many times, especially in the door-to-door world, our sales guys are driving revenue, but without your back end people in the office, nothing's
right.
going to get managed. And
Correct.
so it's so important to make that across the board that everyone can take part in the culture and have a way to earn that through your core values or KPIs and getting them involved. I love that so much.
Totally.
Doug, tell me, you know, I know there's probably some people that are nervous about starting out, maybe some of these smaller companies that haven't done big incentive trips yet. How can we help them feel comfortable to take that leap and to really trust in someone to help them plan an incentive trip for their team?
Well, I think it's that leap of faith, right? And the first step is have a conversation. And talk about, metrics, like where are you at now? Like, what are your revenues? What do you think your goals are? Where do you think you can get? Like, what's your market share? Where can you go? How are you going to get there? And how do you use rewards and travel, rewards and recognition and group travel to kind of move the needle for that team.
Yeah, I would agree. Just asking questions and becoming knowledgeable about it. Something that I
Totally.
with working with Prestige was that, yeah, they would negotiate the contract for me, and probably things that I would have missed on the contract, you guys have caught for me. And so because you're in it day to day, your people know what they're doing, they're extremely knowledgeable and they can watch out for those red flags that we might not know otherwise. And just being able to ask somebody questions.
That's so well said. I mean, we are literally an advocate on behalf of the client. And so you're leveraging our insights and expertise. And for the person that is intimidated or feels like I've never done this, this feels like so much, it feels so expensive. I mean, it goes down as low as like individual incentive rewards. Like we have one company that does individual incentive rewards. So we can buy a package and choose from a wide variety of hotels, and you can have, say, a 5-night program that you could award to an individual or two individuals as like incentive packages that are more individualized. And then you can add air to that. So it doesn't have to be a group to begin with. There are individual ways to recognize through group travel. And then as that grows, you may find that first group might be 10 or 12 couples. You start small. You're not going to start at the WinStar level. You're going to start at something that just gets people excited and builds that community. Because there's a lot of cool places domestically. Um, I would say many times people at that entry level, they end up with the all-inclusive resorts. They end up in Mexico, they end up in the Dominican Republic, because there's a slew of those options in those marketplaces. And it's kind of easy button for that first rung because you don't have to manage the food and beverage as much. The meals are all provided, the drinks are all provided. So it's the easy button for that first time into the market. There are reasons why all-inclusive isn't always the best choice, but it can be a great choice. We book a ton of all-inclusives. I know you like all-inclusive, Jessica, with your lady friends when you travel.
That's
Um,
right. I don't necessarily always love it with the company, but I do love to just go and stay in an all-inclusive place and chill by the pool and enjoy my time.
Yeah, it's low pressure, it's relaxing, and there's all levels of all inclusive, from a more basic level all the way up to a 5 diamond, super high end. And of course, it all comes with a price. But so it just depends on the goal and the budget and what we're driving for. Because in the end, if you look at the numbers, incentive programs should always pay for themselves. It shouldn't cost your organization, it should benefit your organization.
Yeah.
There's cost analysis, but they should always pay for themselves. The way you model these internally in terms of what sales are required to hit those numbers, you're going to do all the metrics to know this is more than paying for itself. And as you're moving that middle,
Yes.
you're driving incremental sales that makes you even more money. And that wouldn't be there if you don't have a recognition program in place, right? So
Yes.
then it's like you almost can't afford to not have something. Because if people are striving to get somewhere, like they don't want just a handshake or a cash payment, is what the research
Right.
tells you. They're most
Right.
motivated when they can be recognized with their peers, in a cool destination. And that could be something regional. If you're in a regional market and let's say you're in Salt Lake, I mean, there's plenty of stuff regionally that you could go to provide a really fun and cool and rewarding, 3-day weekend,
Yes.
um, as a starting point. So I mean, start where you can, but do something.
Yes, no, I couldn't agree more. Start somewhere, get your program built out. And, Salt Lake people were just a hop, skip, and a jump away right from Park City, which is one of my favorite places to stay. Who doesn't love to go to Park City? So,
Totally.
yeah, I
You
think
got a gem like Sundance in your backyard.
I know Sundance is my backyard. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Kate, Doug, let's talk about what are some of the biggest mistakes companies make when planning incentive trips? What have you seen that maybe is a red flag or a mistake that they've made?
Well, I think I call it the Pete and repeat. Well, this is the way we've always done it. We're going to do this program format, and we always have this welcome like this, and we always do it like that, and we just repeat in all these destinations. That's done. I mean, we got to get away from the Pete and repeat, and we have to get into like innovation and, as you talked about, personalization.
Yes.
And you have to be practical in the personalization. It can get unwielding, but there are ways to make things more personal. But each year, take a fresh look at the program, take a fresh look at the destination. A classic example would be, I know Sheila just contracted a program in Reykjavik, Iceland, right?
Mhm.
the way you run a program in Iceland is very different than you would on a beach. It's all about getting out and snowmobiling on glaciers and four-wheeling on black sand beaches and going to geysers and waterfalls and crazy views and like experiencing like the drama of a place like Iceland. But like you're putting on waders, walking in rivers, and you're meeting local cultural things. You're learning about the Vikings and but you're not plopped somewhere in a spa. You know what I mean? It's go and do. So you got to build an agenda that takes the most of Iceland. If you go to Costa Rica, you're going to manage that program a little differently than just a sun and fun in the Caribbean because it's adventure again. You got monkeys and rivers and crazy wildlife and volcanoes and so you have to figure out how do I make the most of this destination because that's the experience. It's the place.
I'm screaming inside as an event planner. I think that you nailed that as well. I think a lot of times as an event planner, what we do is we get comfortable. We've planned and executed, it went really well. And so we get really comfortable and we just want to repeat that, repeat that. And if
Right.
we can just pull that away, there's so many more incredible experiences. You know, I've done Croatia, we've done Italy, we've done Tahiti, we've done Switzerland, we've done so many cool places. And every time it was a challenge. Every time there was something new that we needed to learn and new adventures and different agendas, different transportation opportunities. But that's really what made it super unique and cool. And another thing that I'll say on that is get your people involved in that planning. So a lot of times what we would do is have people
Good
fill out
answer.
forms. Where are you wanting to go? Where did they want to take part of? This is their incentive trip. This is for your culture, their culture. Let them be the deciding factor and maybe vote or cast in votes of where they should go. And that's really what we've done. And that was a huge success. People were thrilled, absolutely thrilled to get out and about and go to the places that they've dreamed their whole lives of going. And if a company can provide that opportunity for them to go, I mean, what better way? That's incredible.
Absolutely right. Um, I was thinking about a quote I posted this morning actually on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and I follow a lady named Stephanie Harris, who's the president of IRF, this Incentive Research Foundation. Salt of the earth, amazing lady. She's risen to the top. She's worked through the incentive channels her entire career. She was just asked this question. And she said, is basically the question was this, when asked, what's one thing you wish more people understood about what makes an incentive program successful, what would you say? And this was Stephanie's answer, and it kind of hits your point.
Okay.
Looking at the experience through the eyes of the attendee and doing everything to remove friction and make it feel special. That's where the magic lives. And so that gets back to the personalization, like engaging your attendees, understanding who they are and where do they want to go versus where does the owner want to go? Where does the
Yes.
boss want to go? Because
Yes.
that happens a lot. Like where does the wife's boss's wife want to go?
That's
And,
right.
and that's not the best indicator. Where do your people want to go and what's your age group? Like what do they like to do?
Make
So
it
look at
about them.
everything through the eyes of the attendee.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Make it about them. That's so important. And it is like magic. As an event planner, putting together an incredible trip that somebody's dreamed of their whole life and watching it through their eyes, nothing better. So don't get stuck in the mundane. Truly reach out, look for new areas. I know that Prestige has helped us find the craziest nooks and crannies and little areas. We like to go off the unbeaten path. And I think that's a big thing with the door-to-door space and sales reps, we're a little bit unique and we like to go off that beaten path for sure. Doug, what kind of metrics can leaders use to measure ROI on culture and incentive trips? You kind of touched on that. I liked that you said, you know, this should pay for itself, but what types of metrics or measures, you know, can we help to get an ROI on this?
Well, I think, first off, you're looking at things like just sales performance, like you're going to obviously manage to your sales metrics on how you're moving the needle, and measuring the difference because that's where you're going to set your goals. If you hit these targets, that's where the incentive gets rewarded. But then it's also looking at little things like, if you look at the IRF statistics, they'll talk about employee retention, absenteeism rates, and then customer acquisition and loyalty and what that means to an organization. So if you have the right kinds of reward and recognition in place, all of these things either reduce cost to an organization because of less turnover,
Right.
and establishing what are those costs, because those are actual bottom lines of doing the loyalty program. So you have to kind of take the one and subtract it from the other so you can see what is the net benefit, because people don't always think about that retention factor and how that saves you money. Um, I think about well, the employee engagement scores, like we'll do some of this where you'll survey and do pulse checks to see where people are at, like internally. So you're measuring that on a constant basis. I would say, building this culture of recognition, and then measuring your employee engagement scores and your customer engagement scores. And there's tools and ways you can do that to see how engaged are your team members, and then how engaged are your clients with the things that you're providing them. Um,
Yes, I
and
love
so
that. That is one of the biggest things that we track in Repcard is referrals and reviews. And we do that through our leaderboards and through the app on Repcard. People can leave you nice reviews, but that is a great way to drive it. I know a lot of companies that utilize those metrics on reviews and referrals coming in from our clients and engagements and sending out your digital business card through Repcard. That is how you can really measure some key metrics and how well they're doing.
so true. Another thing people talk about is like the net promoter score.
Yes.
Like after Delta Airlines, take 5 seconds for a survey. And if on a scale of 1 to 5, would you recommend this person to your boss or your peer or your friend or whatever? And it's a one single question, and it's on a scale of 1 to 5. And would they recommend you to somebody else? And that's just a good metric to have in place to say, are you hitting the nail? And there's different ways to kind of take that net promoter score idea with a single question, but it tells you, are you hitting the nail? Um, they love working for you. Are your customers happy with you? To the degree that they'd recommend you to somebody else. Uh,
Right.
so that net promoter score, I think, is a big idea that
A
that
great
some
one.
people are looking at. But it's also looking at like lifetime value. In the business that some of your people are in, like I know in the roofing business, you're always finding that new customer. You may not always be getting that customer to buy another roof, maybe not for a
Right.
while, but you probably have real estate agents or other people that might be constant referral sources for you that could continue to be a source of revenue. So to think about those kind of people, and how do I, channel, how am I thinking about my metric against those people, and how am I winning their heart, uh, and being that value add for them so that they're constantly recommending me to the people around them. It's because that's everything, right? It's that reverberation of referral.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just this flywheel that's got to keep turning. And each new homeowner, it can be, depending on their experience, can be a one-time sell or it can be a multiple sell if they give you referrals. So
Yep.
every single person that needs a new roof on their home, they want to make sure they take care of their mom, their brother, sister, aunt, friend, neighbor that also needs a new roof. So if they can have a great experience, would they recommend you? I love that.
It's so true.
Something, we all go on a big trip and when we get back, we're like on this low, we don't have anything to look forward to. How can we continue to keep momentum going after a big incentive trip?
Well, I think there's a building anticipation, then there's the experience itself, and then there's remembering what we experienced. And it could be in some companies, they might have like a piece of art or a team photograph or something that was taken that's posted maybe in the office. Um, and then, but there's chronicles of memories that come from that, like through photographs and through stories. A marketing team could chronicle some highlights, special moments for each person on the trip, and you could create a library of special moments. And then as you come into the year, and maybe it's your Christmas party the next December, you let's reflect back on the amazing experiences we had there in Croatia or in Charleston or in, I don't know, Des Moines, Iowa. Uh,
Of all the places.
Whatever it is. But take the moment to reflect, to think back on, gosh, that was cool. That was awesome. Remember when, we were on that paddleboard and that, shark came up and
This is creating memories that last a lifetime. And I love
it
that
is.
so much. It's so fun to go back and reflect on all of the trips that I've been on, incredible experiences that I've been a part of, even just simple events, like you said, in Des Moines, Iowa, or Texas. I've had some incredible experiences. And some of those, just reflecting back on them. And I think that's an incredible way. We used to do a year-end video every year, and we would just it just brings it right back up, and it's almost as if you're reliving it. That's so fun.
So true. I mean, it just brings us back. And these are, they'll never forget these memories. Yeah. It's like, my story about growing up. Those family memories at those resorts just embedded in me and who I am. And I can tell you these trips will have a lasting impact on these teams and cultures to their loyalty to the organization, but also just elevate them as people. They'll feel like more valuable because they're
Yeah.
going to these cool places and they're having these enriching experiences. So that shouldn't be overlooked. That in itself is a huge positive.
Yes, huge. Something else is, you talk about the build up to this trip, and a part of that build up is being able to be very transparent in how you're tracking these KPIs or what metrics you're measuring so that people can get there. The more transparent and open we can be about that, everyone's going to be much more on board. And so at Repcard, that's another thing that we do is we build out these leaderboards so that people can see, or these competitions within the app so that you can track them and know exactly when you're going to hit that milestone or hit that metric so that you can attend that incentive trip. So, tell me a little bit more about what you've seen and how people are tracking that and being transparent in earning their incentive trips.
Well, I think it's the scoreboard mindset. That's been very helpful. And then as you're getting to a goal, you recognize, say, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, like how are you at towards goal and celebrating. Somebody made a 30% move and it's celebrating the successes along the way and have a culture of celebration, recognizing moves towards the goal. And when somebody rings the bell and says, yeah, I did it, like, you find a way to celebrate that as an organization. We have an internal newsletter, we have an internal Teams channel, and one of the channels on the team is it's just celebrating internal stuff. It could be somebody had a baby, it could be somebody had this great sales win, whatever it is, we're celebrating those things together. And I think that can be a huge way to promote those incremental gains. And then if you know where you're going, it can be those little teaser gifts that come into the mail to remind you we're going to Hawaii and here's some sand and here's this cone of coffee and or something like that to kind of prelim like what's coming, getting them excited,
Getting
building
them excited.
anticipation.
There's so much hype
Yeah,
that can go into that. I love
yeah.
that you said that. Um, I had a friend of mine, and he said, if I don't mess this up here, he said, set goals, reach goals, and celebrate goals. And I love that so much. So even like you said, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, up until that big year-end trip or something, make sure that you really are celebrating the small wins. Each of them are a step towards the bigger incentive. And so if we can just remember to set goals, celebrate goals, and reach those goals, it's going to be incredible.
So true. And in the world that a lot of your people are in, like it can be a grind, you know what I mean? And you get 10 no's in a day and it's just like, wow, it can be very deflating. But what I find is that you've got to celebrate the mountaintops because it gives you energy for the valley. And
Yeah.
and that's what you're doing. You're building that sales energy, say, yep, I can do this. I got
Yes.
to press through some things, but you've got to celebrate the wins.
Yeah, you have to celebrate each milestone, and I love that. That's something that we've noticed because when you're getting your teeth kicked in on the doors every day, a lot of these guys are used to that. They're seeing this every, day in and day out, and these ladies on the doors. But what happens is they hit a high point, and then there's maybe a low. There's a lot of no's. You're getting your teeth kicked in, and so somehow we've got to find a win within that. And
Right.
that's why we can celebrate some of those other milestones in between those big mountaintops. I like that.
Yeah, in my early sales training, there was Tom Hopkins was a big sales trainer, and he'd always talk about thanks for the 25. He would take his sales numbers and he would average them out. So if I want to make $1,000 on a sale and I had to make 10 contacts to get the one sale, the no was one step closer to
Yes,
yes.
one step closer to the yes.
So then he'd say, okay, thanks for the 25. I'm closer to my yes. So it was
Yes.
a way to positively spin
A
it. But
great
that was
friend
kind
of
of how
mine is the same way. His name's Michael O'Donnell down in Arizona. If he's
that
listening in, maybe I can get him to chime in on this, but he is the same. He's written several books and trains a ton of people. He's in solar, and that's his biggest thing is just one more no is the next step to getting closer to your yes. I
It's
love
so
that.
key. Yeah.
It
And
is.
it's and it's purposeful, I feel like too, because again, there's all these strains of value we're creating. It's not just making sales numbers, but you are creating value. You're influencing people to something that they need or want or didn't even know they needed, but they're going to benefit from,
Right. Yeah.
So
Doug, if you could give everyone one piece of advice on strengthening their culture in their company, what would it be? What was that one piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say sit back and look at your organization and think about, what are the things you can do to build a culture of recognition? Like make that an internal conviction, and if you don't believe that that's true, do some fundamental research to see the data points that prove it to be true, even though intrinsically I think we all know inside that the community part of this, like being connected to something bigger than ourselves, is enriching. Um, and so think about what's the first step I can take toward building that culture of recognition. And if I'm already in that culture, how can I enhance and improve that? Um, because I think, even as a company that's doing this and have been doing it for a long time, we're learning and growing in our ways of building cultures of recognition, a culture of recognition with our different departments as we grow. So it's not a static thing. You're constantly, but start somewhere. And it starts with that desire to build a culture of recognition. And then get some people around you that can advise you, inspire you, and help you kind of stay the course to get to where you want to go with it.
No, for sure.
And use
Something
Repcard, my goodness.
Yes, you guys, we not only track your sales and your deals and your recruits, but we do all of the tracking through the leaderboards and the competitions and milestones that we have set. So it's an incredible way to track, and people can just visually see where they're at on the leaderboard and know what incentives they're hitting, and they can get some instant gratification, instant rewards and recognition right through the app. I love that. Something that I was going to mention, Doug, is that I feel as though recognition is somewhat, we all like to be recognized in different ways. We're all motivated in different, for different reasons. And we're all, we like to be recognized in different ways. It's kind of like your love language. Some of us like quality time, some of us like words of affirmation. And so truly just not only just start now, find a way to have a culture of recognition, but also get to know your people, understand how, who they actually are, what their love language is, what are some of the things that they like or don't like. Truly get to know and understand your people so that you can make it so personal and magical for them.
That is rock star. That is exactly right. It really starts with understanding who are your people. It's the same thing we said about the attendees, seeing the incentive program through the eyes of them. So that means you got to understand who they are. And
Yes.
so that's a really good first step. If you're not good at that or you're not doing that, to make that a practice that you're going to put into place.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's not always everybody's strong suit. So like you said, building a team around you that
But good.
they can be your eyes and ears and grounds on the feet that can help you recognize and get to know people on a more meaningful level. I love that. You guys, I want to open it up to some questions from our audience here. If anyone's got a question, if you'll throw it into the chat, then we will keep following along. But yeah, Doug, if people want to reach out while we're waiting for some questions to come in, if people want to get in touch with Prestige, I just want to reiterate, you guys do room blocks. You can help book venues that are outside of hotels. You can do help with incentive trips, gifting options on those trips. What else am I missing, Doug?
Well, we could even consult with if they want to look at like a points program or ways they could, monitor success through different points initiatives that are out there. Certainly Repcar is a tool that is really all inclusive for them in many ways. But there's many other platforms out there if they want to look at more comprehensive ways to track and manage sales performance or even employee engagement. There's all kinds of ways to kind of look at
Yes.
that.
And we integrate into many different other softwares as well. So if there's another CRM that you're utilizing, let us know on Repcard. We're definitely able to take a look and see if we can integrate or come up with some webhooks and get that integrated into your software for sure.
Well, we're happy to have that first intake, that like, where do we start kind of call? Or we've been doing this, and what are your thoughts on some ideas on where we could go from there? And our team member Sheila, who's on the call with us, she'll be like an advocate for you. And then we build some team members around that, depending on what you need and what you request to support your growth into this lane.
Yes, for sure. Sheila has been there for me through all sorts of crazy questions and late nights on figuring things out. Um, Yeah, so Jack just had a question. Yes, you can hop on. This will be recorded and put into the Repcard app. We'll also email this out. So if you jumped on later, you missed some of it, we'll be emailing this out. And then, Doug, going back, how can they reach out to Prestige?
Well, I would say that we should maybe provide Sheila's email address as a link, but we
Okay,
also have our website is www.meetprestige.com. And there's a good description of our global services, and it kind of rolls out our core values and has, ways you can connect with us. But, with this group, I think Sheila could be a great person to be an advocate to this vertical, if you will, of clients. And because she really understands this lane and she thinks the world of you. And I know we really want to be here for any of your callers today.
well, thank you. I just think the world of you and Sheila. Sheila has put her email in the chat. You guys, everyone say hi to Sheila, get to know her. She's an incredible asset and consultant that can help you through every process, no matter where you're at in planning, an incentive trip to an event to whatever you need. Doug, thank you so much for jumping on with us today. I truly appreciate all your expertise and knowledge and all that you're giving into our network and industry. This is a huge thing for us as we're all building companies and ultimately just building other people around us. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with all of us.
Always love spending time together. Thank you.
Yes, everyone have a great day.
Bye, everybody.